Come thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet, sung by flaming tongues above. Praise the mount I'm fixed upon it, mount of God's unchanging love. Here I raise my Ebenezer, hither by thy help I've come, and I hope by thy good pleasure safely to arrive at home. Jesus sought me when a stranger, wandering from the fold of God, here to rescue me from danger, interpose his precious blood. Oh, to grace how great a debtor, daily I'm constrained to be. Let thy grace now like a fetter bind my wandering heart to thee. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it, prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, Lord, take and seal it for thy courts above. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it, prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart now, take and seal it for thy courts above. Come thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet, sung by flaming tongues above. Praise the mount I'm fixed upon it, mount of God's unchanging love. Well, I sweat in the heat of the battle, and I fought through the dust and the shadows. Oh, you never left my side, you never left my side, no. I stood at the top of the world, I swam through the depths of my soul. No matter what I find, no matter what.
Good evening, Lufkin Central and online worship community. My name is Jason Hollinger. I'm the preaching and community minister here. And tonight we are in episode 10 of a series titled How to Read the Bible. And again, we're going to be talking about one of the forms of the literary styles in which the Bible is written, and that is called poetry. We've spent last number of videos talking about the narrative style. Then last night we introduced to you the poetry style, and now tomorrow night we will have our Wednesday night Bible class, so no evening devotional. And then the next couple of nights we're going to take those times off as we lean into New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and then we will come back again Saturday night with episode 11. And so again tonight we're talking a little bit more about poetry, and we're going to get into that right after this time in worship.
These are the days of Elijah, declaring the word of the Lord. And these are the days of your servant Moses, righteousness being restored. And though these are days of great trials, of famine and darkness and sword, still we are the voice in the desert, crying, prepare ye the way of the Lord. Behold, he comes, riding on the clouds, shining like the sun. At the trumpet call, so lift your voice. It's a year of jubilee, and Mount Zion's hill salvation comes. And these are the days of Ezekiel, the dry bones becoming as flesh. And these are the days of your servant David, rebuilding a temple of praise. And these are the days of the harvest, the fields are as white in the world, and we are the laborers in your vineyard, declaring the word of the Lord. Behold, he comes, riding on the clouds, shining like the sun. At the trumpet call, so lift your voice. It's the year of jubilee, and Mount Zion's hill salvation comes. There's no God like Jehovah. 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 Behold, he comes, riding on the clouds, shining like the sun. At the trumpet call, so lift your voice. It's the year of jubilee, and Mount Zion's hill salvation comes. Who was and who is to come? Who was and who is to come? You call me out upon the waters, the great unknown, where feet may fail. And there I find you in the mystery, in ocean's deep, my faith will stand. I will call your name, keep my feet may fail and fear surrounds me, you never fail, and you won't start now. I will call your name, keep my eye toward the way, resting in your embrace. I am yours, and you are mine.
Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters, wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters, wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. I will call your name, keep my eye toward the way, resting in your embrace. I am yours, and you are mine. I am yours, and you are mine.
So we're learning how to read biblical poetry, which makes up over 30% of the Bible.
Yeah, poetry is a way of writing that doesn't just communicate information. It invites us to experience ideas with our imaginations, using creative imagery, or what we would call metaphorical language.
All right, let's talk about imagery and metaphor in biblical poetry.
So, some things in life are easy to understand because they're tangible, physical experiences, like being cold.
Yeah, being cold is no fun.
But other experiences aren't as concrete, like when somebody doesn't like you.
But that's no fun either.
So, two very different things, but notice how your mind has linked them together without you knowing it. So when we say things like, she gave me the cold shoulder, or don't be so cold.
You could also flip it around and think of affection as warmth. It took him a while to warm up to me, or she's a warm person.
Exactly. So we take a basic concept, like warmth, and then we map it onto an abstract concept, like affection. It gives us a more imaginative way to talk about our experiences.
We're thinking in metaphors.
Yeah, they provide the framework for how our minds make sense of the world. Metaphors govern all of our thinking and language.
Like right there, metaphors govern. That's a metaphor in and of itself, saying that ideas are rulers.
Or think about a connected metaphor that competing ideas are at war.
Yeah, in a debate, I have to defend my position and provide backup so I could win the argument.
And so you can see, metaphors aren't just a fancy way of writing, they're everywhere in our language. And the metaphors we use shape our imaginations and our behavior. And so it's no surprise that the biblical poets constantly use metaphorical imagery.
Now, some metaphors in the Bible are easy to understand, like light is good and darkness is bad.
But remember, the biblical poets lived in an ancient culture, which means that some of their metaphors might seem kind of strange to us.
Like what?
Okay, so picture chaotic water, like a deep, stormy ocean.
Got it.
Now, think about a time you were in danger, and then map those two onto each other, and...
Danger is like chaotic waters.
Right. And then the biblical authors take it further. They also talk about dangerous people as stormy waters. Like in Psalm 69. Save me, O God, for the waters are up to my throat. I've entered the deep waters. My enemies outnumber the hairs of my head.
Oh, the enemies are dangerous waves.
Yes, and so are enemy nations. Like in Isaiah 17, woe to the nations that rage like the raging, roaring seas. Or in Psalm 89, O Lord, you rule the swelling seas. You scatter enemies with your mighty arm.
So this is a basic metaphor for danger and chaos in our world. But God has the power over chaotic waters.
Right. And this foundational image is so important, it's introduced on page 1 of the Bible.
Oh, right. The uncreated world in Genesis 1 is a dark, chaotic ocean that God brings order to.
Exactly. The image begins there and then develops throughout the rest of the Bible, and so does its opposite. If chaotic water is a fundamental image of danger, think about what dry land would represent.
Dry land would be safety, security, stability.
Exactly. Some of the most basic human desires. And that is what God's providing when the dry land appears in the opening pages of Genesis.
And this is also where God plants the Garden of Eden.
And it's no average garden. It's described with imagery of an ancient temple, high above those dangerous waters. And then from this garden temple flows a river that waters everything.
So the human ideal is to be with God in a mountain garden temple.
Yes, this image permeates biblical poetry, like when David celebrates God's presence in the temple in Psalm 65.
How blessed is the one who's satisfied with goodness in your temple. A stream of God waters the land. You still the roaring of the waves and the turmoil of the nations.
Now watch. Because the temple was associated with being close to God's presence, this high rock could become a metaphor for God himself. Like in Psalm 18, the Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer.
And that's the image Jesus is drawing on when he says that listening to him is like building your house on the rock.
Exactly. And so notice how these rich metaphors in biblical poetry are rooted in images from earlier biblical narratives. That's how metaphors work in the Bible. You need the narratives to understand the poetic images, and the images reveal deeper meaning in those narratives.
Cool. Now, the largest collection of poetry in the Bible is the book of Psalms.
And learning how to read the book of Psalms, that's what we'll talk about next.
You know, again, you can't help but point out the very important fact that the Bible, although there are many different books that make up the Bible and many different ways in which that it's written, you need all of it to come together. You can't understand the content without understanding the context, and you can't understand the context without understanding the content. All those things, if you take one part out, what you're doing is you're missing a very important part of the story. It's told in many ways, but again, they're woven together to tell that story. And again, we've talked about narrative and then poetry, and on Saturday night, we're going to talk about the Psalms. So watch for that again. Tomorrow night, we're continuing in our series titled Strangers, led by Chris Seidman, the lead minister of the branch. And then we will take a couple days off with New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and then get right back into it, talking about Psalms on Saturday night. No matter, y'all have a great night, and God bless.
Have you ever met those who keep humming when the song's through? It's like they're living life to a whole different tune. Have you ever met those that keep hoping when it's hopeless? It's like they figured out what the rest haven't yet. The second you realize what you have inside, it's only just a matter of time till you see. So the back row hears you glide. Just walking, just want to dance. You don't have to know how to. Ever since grace got you left, see your whole side's hurt and smile, like you just got away with something. Why? Cause you just got away with something. Ever since grace got you. So when you're standing in the rain again, you might as well be dancing. Why? Cause there ain't no storm that can change how this ends. So next time when you feel blue, don't let the smile leave you. Why? Cause you have every reason just to sing. back row hears you glide. Cause walking just won't you dance. You don't have to know how to. Ever since Grace got you left, your whole side's hurt and smile like you just got away with something. Why? Cause you just got away with something. Ever since Grace got you. Ever since Grace got you. Grace got you.
Got away with something bubbling inside of you, spilling over cause your life is full. How incredible, undeniable, monumental like the Eiffel, uncontrollable, let the joy flow through. Ha ha. Giddy-o but pretty please, let me see your hands in the air with you out your seats. Warm it up, let go, shout it out, celebrate. When you can't articulate, just say Amazing Grace.
The second you realize what you have inside, it's only just a matter of it's only just a matter of time till you sing. So the back row hears you glide. Cause walking just won't do dance. You don't have to know how to. Ever since Grace got you left, till your whole side's hurt and smile like you just got away with something. Why? Cause you just got away with something. Ever since Grace got you, yeah, 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 yeah. Ever since Grace got you, yeah, 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 yeah. Grace got you, yeah, 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 yeah. Ever since Grace got you.